Let me be clear, we are bringing in investments and growing the economy not as an end in itself, but as a means to an end. Our aim is to create good jobs and improve the lives of all Singaporeans. And our strategies have worked. Look at the data over the last decade. From 2010 to 2019, up until COVID struck, median income in real terms grew by 3.2% per annum for residents. Income growth at the lower end has kept pace with the median. Likewise, household incomes have also risen across the board. Our employment rate has been amongst the highest in the world. Our unemployment rate has been kept low. Look at the PMET data, professional managers, executive technicians. Between 2010 and 2020, local PMET employment grew by about 300,000. This is almost 3 times the increase in EP and S-Pass holders over the same time period, which was about 110,000. These are substantial achievements which we can be proud of and which we should celebrate. But the PSP wants to sweep these aside. They downplay the jobs, opportunities, and outcomes we have created and play up the anxieties. The PSP assumes that if we reduced the number of foreigners here, then all these jobs will automatically go to Singaporeans. Mr. Leong has a euphemism for it. He called it, in one of his earlier Facebook posts, rebalancing. But it's quite clear what he means. In one post, he said we can get rid of tens of thousands, I quote, tens of thousands of work pass holders, and he thinks that Singaporeans can fill these jobs. But that thinking is fatally flawed. First, we already have more than 25,000 PMET vacancies today, with many companies still looking to hire. With so many companies having difficulties filling these vacancies, how would we find people with the relevant skill sets to take on the additional tens of thousands of jobs that Mr. Leong thinks can be created by getting rid of the foreigners? Second, if our policies were to become overly restrictive, companies will just find other places to operate in where they can be more competitive. We would lose all the jobs they brought here. The rapid pace of change and the creative destruction that takes place in any vibrant economy means that there will be people displaced from their jobs. But the issue is not about foreigners working here. Even if we got rid of tens of thousands of foreigners, locals will continue to be displaced because of technology, because of innovation, because of the changing nature of work over time. With the rise of remote work, people can work from anywhere in the world, and they need not be all in the same place. In the face of these painful dislocations, it's easy for politicians to blame someone for them. People don't lose jobs because of technology or innovations, they say, but it's because of the foreigners in our midst. They are the reason you have been displaced. And if they can mobilize existing racial prejudices against particular foreign nationalities here, better still. And that's why we see nationalist and protectionist sentiments gaining ground everywhere around the world. That's why populist and anti-immigrant parties, even neo-Nazis and fascists, do well in many European countries. Far easier to point fingers, make one nationality or another the scapegoat, and blame them all for our troubles, rather than work on reskilling our workers. I emphasize again, there are downsides to an open economy, and these must be attended to. But if we want an economy where nobody will ever be displaced, then we will stagnate and atrophy. So the right approach is not to impede progress by holding on to every job even as they become obsolete, but to work hard to protect every worker and help those who are displaced. Mr. Leong's motion states that the government's foreign talent policy is a cause of job anxieties. But he's barking up the wrong tree, because the issue is not about local talent versus foreign talent. This is not a zero-sum competition, as I've explained. What we have is a Singapore talent policy to maximize our overall talent pool so that we can achieve the best outcomes for Singapore and Singaporeans. We do this by first nurturing and growing our own talent, because Singaporeans will always be our priority and at the center of everything we do. So we start from young through significant investments in preschool and education to help every child achieve their full potential. We are also broadening our conception of merit and giving people opportunities to advance and excel across different domains and at multiple stages of their lives. At the same time, we continue to bring in manpower and skills from around the world to complement our own people, to give us that extra boost so we can continue to thrive amidst intense global competition. We do this across every level of the workforce. At the lower end of the income spectrum, we bring in work permit holders. The numbers are quite large, but we need them in areas like construction and marine. So we control the flow with quotas and levies. For the middle income tier, we have Singaporeans doing the jobs, but there are not enough of them, and we need to top up with S-Pass holders. We control their flow with quotas and levies, but we also impose minimum qualifying salaries to make sure they have the right skill sets and are in areas where we need them most. At the higher level, we bring in professionals with the abilities and skills to contribute at the upper end of the workforce. We need the right instrument to manage the flow of these foreign professionals and ensure they are of the right caliber. And this is best achieved not through levies and quotas, but through the salary cutoffs. Because how much the employer is prepared to pay is a practical indicator of quality. Last year, we raised the EP qualifying salary twice. And we will continue to ensure that the qualifying salaries for both S-Passes and EPs keep pace with our local wages. We are also studying how to further improve this framework to have a finer grain feel for the people we bring in and ensure we get the right talent for Singapore. This is how we constantly adjust the balance in our workforce and bring together the best talent for Team Singapore. Based on this framework, we allow companies to bring in the workers they need at different levels. The PSB has raised questions in Parliament on the nationality breakdown of the EPs. But from a competition and jobs perspective, where the EPs come from shouldn't matter. What's more important are the policy parameters I've just outlined, which determine the overall flow and the quality of the work pass holders. So if there are questions about this balance, then we can discuss and debate the specific settings of our policies. But let's not turn this into an issue about Sika and Indian professionals, which are not relevant unless the PSP intends to persist with its negative campaign to stir up racial unhappiness. Our fellow Singaporeans are also impacted. Let me share an email I received, or some ministers received, from a Singaporean of Indian ethnicity. And this is what he wrote, and I quote, "Due to such PSP campaign and what is falsely reported in social media, there is every possibility that Singaporeans who are shortlisting candidates may not shortlist me for interviews thinking that I am an Indian. I decided to indicate on the header of my resume on each page, Singapore citizen. But does this help? I don't think so. I seek your assistance that our government put a stop to the PSP campaign, which is truly racist and is hurting Singapore Indians, and we are splitting Singaporeans along racist lines. These are little hairline cracks that, if left unchecked, will result in bigger issues in years to come." So I appeal to the PSP, its two representatives here and its leadership outside the House. If you are truly concerned about the well-being of our fellow Singaporeans and the future of this country, please have a care about how you go about dealing with these issues. Please reflect on how your rhetoric can deepen fault lines, not just between locals and foreigners, but even between Singaporeans of different races.